Hello folks, in this video today we're going to be looking at my top 10 Sega Dreamcast games. Now obviously this is going to vary to what a lot of other people have. Some people will think I'm wrong, other people think I'm right, but this is just my top 10 Sega Dreamcast games. And we'll be starting off with Soul Calibur. So Soul Calibur on the Sega Dreamcast was originally an arcade game, as was kind of the way back then, but it comes with lots of extra things you can do, different game options, difficulty level settings, all this sort of thing on here, sound settings and whatnot. Not a ton of different settings, but it does come with extra options. Mission battle, that's a very cool way of playing the game, but for today we'll just play it on arcade.
Welcome back to the stage of history.
Let's play as Nightmare. So the graphics today may look slightly dated, but bear in mind, this was on a £200 console back in the early 2000s.
This victory strengthens the soul of Nightmare.
So this was quite different really at the time to a lot of other fighting games, in that you got to use weapons in this. And that really enhances the gameplay, makes it quite different. Also, because of the Dreamcast's power, you can move fully around the environment as well. Obviously, all of the backgrounds and whatnot are in 3D, whereas originally, like from the previous generation, they'd have perhaps been 3D but much lower quality.
This victory strengthens the soul.
So graphically, this game is, and at least was, absolutely incredible. Gameplay-wise, loads of options, really good fun, a lot different to what was available at the time. Even the loading scenes aren't too long. The music at times is beautiful, and the sound effects are pretty cool too. Oh dear, he's a bit harder. I would say he looks more nightmare-fueled than I do, but that's been Soul Calibur on the Sega Dreamcast. Now, I'm not putting this list in any particular order, it's just my top 10 games. I can't really rank them because oftentimes I kind of love them all equally. Let's just beat him, and we'll move on to our next game after that, which is probably one you wouldn't expect, but for me, it really opened up the genre a little bit and made for a very unique gameplay experience.
Strengthens the soul of Nightmare. You win.
So the next game on my list is the Nomad Soul. Now, I'd imagine you thinking either, I've never heard of this game, or I don't really understand, the graphics don't look particularly amazing, the frame rate is a little bit below 30, I don't get what you're talking about. Well, this game was by Quantic Dream. Now you might know them from games such as Beyond Two Souls, Fahrenheit, Heavy Rain, Detroit. These are all incredible story-driven games, well at least in my opinion they are. And this was one of their very first games. Now, yes, the experience is better probably on the PC if you were to play it on that. For example, if you look around here, you can see the frame rate drops a little bit, and certain things run faster than they should, perhaps like the steam coming out of there. But atmospherically, I feel this game is incredible. The storyline is brilliant. The basic premise is you're drawn into this world through your TV, and you can inhabit, your soul basically is drawn in, and you can inhabit other souls, other characters in the game that have more powerful abilities, for example, or that are stronger to be able to jump over things and that. And the game will give you hints on that. Also, this intro is incredible. Now, it probably lasts for about 2 minutes, so if you don't want to listen to it or you think it's a bit boring, feel free to skip it. But the music by David Bowie is absolutely brilliant. I've got it on my Spotify and on YouTube that I listen to regularly while I'm driving around. And I'll stop talking now and just leave you to enjoy seeing the city and whatnot in this medium. So for me, that's one of the most incredible intros to like any game ever. So essentially, this is an open world game, but the open world isn't enormous, so you're able to kind of explore, but you're not going to be like absolutely overwhelmed. You can also use these cars to travel, but in the Dreamcast version, you can't actually control the car yourself. It has to be done through. You pick a destination essentially. In the PC version, you can control the car. Now, if I had to guess, I would say that's due to performance issues. Perhaps the speed of the car would not be. The system wouldn't be able to maybe render ahead far enough. There is quite a bit of fog in this section. In the later levels, there is less fog, so I think actually perhaps it is more of a atmospheric choice. But you can go into most of these buildings and whatnot as well. I'm not sure if you can go into this one. But this is kind of, to me, here we go, you can go into here. This is an eatery. Now, obviously, the animations and whatnot on the extra character is a little bit, they're a little bit janky and whatnot. But you can use these terminals as well to call people and whatnot. Probably seemed pretty futuristic at the time. And yes, there's slight pauses for loading and whatnot as you come out here, but it's worth remembering the Sega Dreamcast had a 200 MHz CPU, 24 megs of RAM, and a graphics card which I can't remember the speed of. But you know, you're talking about a £200 box here. It was produced pretty big open world and whatnot. And yes, the frame rate could be better. It is choppy, and some of the controls in the first-person sections can be a little bit difficult to get used to. But overall, for me, this is a game with a pretty incredible storyline. I won't spoil for you. These days, I'd recommend perhaps if you're very conscious of frame rates and that, getting it perhaps on the PC. But it is a really rather good game, really enjoyable, and there's fighting sections and whatnot that are pretty decent, and the first-person shooting's fairly decent as well. It's I can highly recommend it. Probably get a walkthrough as well, because games designed in this period were somewhat convoluted sometimes, but it's I can highly recommend this game. Although, of course, feel free to leave me a comment if you disagree with me. I would understand. It's not got the best graphics and whatnot. So on to my next game, which is another one that you're probably not going to think that I would put on this list, but it's going to be Toy Commander. Okay, so this is Toy Commander on the Sega Dreamcast. Now, you might be saying, why have I chosen to put this game on the list? What's so special about this? Well, I think graphically it's actually pretty good. Also, this is quite different to a lot of games that you have available now. Sadly, we never really saw much else come from this. But you actually, like the name, you're a toy commander. And you can fly around these environments. You can come in and land, you can play with different tanks and other toys, there's mice running around and whatnot. So I believe, I'm just playing the training section here, I believe I'm supposed to come in now and land. So here we go. Okay, so I've landed. There we go. What's now then? Probably got to shoot something, I'd imagine, perhaps. So that's the training section, but let's get into a proper level. You've managed thus far, but you're nothing unless you can cook. I totally agree with that. Check out some of my other videos on cooking. I make some, if I dare say so myself, fairly nice food, and it's worth checking out, especially my video on how to make the most delicious gammon that is both juicy and also very, very tasty. Here we go. Gives you a little run down the area. I'm guessing I've got to knock those eggs in there and get them cooking. Let's see. So the game had pretty cool music as well. And I think you fire pencils. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Let's see. Perhaps if I get up here, knock these eggs in. probably not supposed to be using a plane. I can't remember how to change vehicles, mind you. Perhaps if I go into the hangar, I can get this little tank out instead. Oh, that changes the camera. Dear, this is embarrassing. Oh, that's a bomb. Oh dear, right, okay, so don't do that, because you'll blow yourself up. So the only thing I'd say about this game is sometimes finding out how to do things in here can be a little bit difficult, but I think you'll agree it's a very novel concept, and once you get to grips with it, which unfortunately on this occasion I have not. Let's have a look at the mission briefing again. Drop the eggs into the water. Okay. Let's have a look at the controls then. Perhaps I've just forgotten. So, rotate vehicle, brake, switch weapon. Switch vehicle, there we go. I'm a silly Billy, aren't I? So I'd imagine I've got to land the plane to be able to switch the vehicle over. Let's see. Here we go. Now, for me, graphically, I think this game looked pretty cool back in the day. We obviously you'd now probably say, well, the textures could be better, and but the frame rate's pretty solid. And we mustn't forget, we are talking about a console here that is using technology that's over 20 years old. So I think it does a fairly decent job. Let's go up here and knock these bits in. So I'm not sure what happened to the company that made this game, or the studio, should I say. But I'd be sad to see if they've gone. Oh, maybe I'm supposed to push them, not actually cook them up here. Get in the water. Oh no. Oh. He is right, I did make a mistake there. But nonetheless, once you get used to those controls and whatnot, it is actually a really good fun game, even if it can be a bit frustrating at times. So that's the third game in my list. Got a few more to go. So the House of the Dead 2 is the next game on my list. You've got different options and whatnot. Unfortunately, on a modern TV, you can't use the light gun because the TV technology is different and it won't actually pick up the gun's inputs. You can, however, use a controller and it's still pretty good fun. So what is so fun about this game? Well, it's kind of cheesy, kind of corny, but still kind of cool. And graphically, it was at the time pretty incredible. You've got to remember, this would have been played on at the biggest, a 30-inch TV back in the day. And much the same, there's also the typing of the game.
Please be safe, G.
So graphically, really good fun gameplay, nice art style and whatnot.
How could anyone do this?
Although the voice acting's kind of comical. But this is vintage Sega arcade. The sound, the music, this is all really quite cool stuff. And when I first got my Dreamcast all those many years ago, when I put this on the TV, this is coming from a PlayStation 1, so I put this on my TV with the light gun, and it was just a revelation. Absolutely incredible. I couldn't believe the jump in graphics. Of course, we still had the PlayStation 2 and whatnot to come, but at the time, the jump in graphics was just amazing.
I don't want to die.
Look at those classic 90s hairstyles.
Don't come! Don't come! What's me? Please, help it! Don't kill me! No!
I love how they plead with the zombies not to kill them.
There was nothing we could do.
I mean, I could have been faster with the shooting, I suppose. Now, the best way to play this is, of course, with a light gun on an original CRT. But unfortunately, I'm not rich. Unless loads of you watch and share this video, maybe I can then get a CRT TV and review my games on that. But as it stands right now, I'm not rich enough to have room to do all of that. Nonetheless, it still plays nicely, and it still looks not, it doesn't look terrible on the TV. It's amazing, really, what this little box can do. Now, there's different modes to play this on as well, to extend the gameplay. And of course, oh no! Who was expecting that? And of course, it's better played with 2 people. What would be really incredible would be if Sega themselves came out with like a compilation of the House of the Dead games with perhaps a light gun that would work on modern TVs, probably needing some sort of sensor bar or something. But I mean, that would be pretty cool.
Don't come. Thank you. Please take this.
Of course, we all just carry first aid packs around with us. So that's been the House of the Dead 2 on the Sega Dreamcast, one of my top 10 favourite Sega Dreamcast games. So you can probably guess what my next game is, and that is Sonic Adventure for the Sega Dreamcast. This was back when Sonic Team were really on top form. You could tell they were excited that this was a new console from Sega, and they really wanted to do their best to show it off. And I think they did a great job. So again, kind of the standard thing here, but the top things that apply make me enjoy this game so much are incredible graphics, brilliant music, great sound, and pretty decent gameplay. Now, the only thing that I would say against this game is the glitches. There are a lot of glitches, and perhaps some of the other characters you might find a little bit boring, like the fishing sections. That's probably the worst one, is having to do the fishing sections. To be honest, that can be a little bit convoluted with Big the Cat. But again, you might think, well, the people look kind of blocky in that. What's the big deal? But this was Sonic at his peak, in my opinion. The Mega Drive games were, of course, incredible, but 3D Sonic was at its peak here. It's just sad they haven't really managed to rekindle the magic of Sonic Adventure, and to a lesser extent, Sonic Adventure 2.
Oh yeah! This is happening! What's up?
You can probably hear that notoriously loud Sega Dreamcast GD-ROM drive running as well. Touch wood, that keeps going to the end of the video because it's a pretty old system now, but it's fairly reliable.
Lock on target, men! Ready? Fire! Oh no! Our weapons are useless! Retreat! All personnel, pull back!
And of course, I do love the classic sort of Sega voice acting. That is, it's kind of comical, really. So Chaos is kind of the main enemy in the game, but sort of in a similar way to how Knuckles was the enemy in Sonic 3, Chaos is being manipulated by Dr. Robotnik. he is a grade A manipulator and naughty boy. So, is Chaos actually bad? I wouldn't have said necessarily that he was.
Hey, I'll play with you some other time.
Of course, Chaos will manage to escape because he's largely made of water.
Come on, you big drip. Where you going?
You know nothing, fool! It's Chaos, the god of destruction!
So, you might think this is a little bit nerdy, maybe not, but I still listen to the music from this game on a regular basis. Uh-oh.
What? Tails?
So let me know in the comments, do you prefer Sonic Adventure or Sonic Adventure 2? I feel like I kind of prefer Sonic Adventure, but
Tails.
there's definitely
What am I gonna
advantages to
do
Sonic
with
Adventure 2. So the last bit I'll show you of this game, because you might not have seen it, depending on how old you are, is running through the first level, which is just down this way. Now this is what we would have played in the demo booths back in the day in places like Game and Electronics Boutique. And to say that this was incredible would be an understatement. When I played this game, having come, like I said, from things like Metal Gear Solid, which storyline and gameplay wise was incredible, but graphically couldn't touch this. And the set pieces in this game, absolutely monumental. Also, the sense of speed, they got it exactly right. And I'd really like to see Sonic Team have a proper return to form, free of gimmicks and silliness, and just actually go back to what made Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 so great, which is incredible graphics, a sense of speed, beautiful Sonic music, and just a kind of corny but cool style like this. Now, why the Orca is so big and wanted to destroy everything, I don't know. But it was pretty cool. And even things like this, looking at the grass textures and that. Now it looks kind of rubbish, doesn't it? But back in the day, this was incredible. And I'll be honest, if you play this game now, you'll still have a great time. It's still a great looking game. It's really good fun. And, oh dear, that monkey's naughty, isn't he? Better stop that. And of course, you can collect these little creatures and use them with your KOs, which are other little creatures you can get. And what's around here? I can't remember if I ever been around here. And you could, oh, here we go. And you could actually raise those little characters and put them on your Sega VMU, which is also pretty cool. So we'll move on to my next game now. This is a game with incredible graphics, a high frame rate, but somewhat difficult controls. I'll let you figure out what that is as it comes up next. So I don't know if you can tell what this is by this little intro bit here. But this is Quake 3 Arena. So, like I said, this game has 60 FPS gameplay. It looked really good. It was pretty close to the PC version, at least in terms of performance. Obviously, even back then, you could play PCs at like 720p resolution. which is incredible, really, to think how long that took to come to consoles. So let's do a quick single player game and I'll show you. So I'll put it on I Can Win because the controls are quite difficult. So we'll get into this. Now, I'll describe to you the way the controls work on this. So you look around with the analog stick and you move around with the A, B, X and Y buttons. So it's kind of reversed to how a modern system runs. But if you can get used to it, it can sort of, it can work. But really what you would have wanted would have been the Dreamcast keyboard and mouse, which would have put you on a pretty even footing. As you can see, it's kind of hard for me to aim here. Yeah, I mean, you see how hard that was for me to just kill her, and she wasn't even really trying to fight him. So, it might be easier with the machine gun, but we'll see. It's kind of hard to move around and shoot at the same time, and it's really a major flaw that Sega had with this system, wherein they only had one analog stick. I'm not sure why they chose to do that. They could have easily fit another one in, but they didn't. And you know, once you get used to it, it's not terrible. The sort of best way to do it, I would say, would be to try and lay your thumb on the buttons, so your thumb is kind of in the middle of the buttons, your joint of your thumb, sorry, and then use that to move around. But it's still not great, and I struggle to think of any other way they could really make it better. Using the controller at least. Your best bet really is the Dreamcast mouse and keyboard, if you've got the room to do that, and if they don't cost a fortune to get. But as you can see, graphically and performance-wise, this plays pretty nicely. And of course, this was one of the first online games for like consoles where you could actually play against PC players. And like I said, because you got the 60 FPS gameplay, if you were to play with the mouse and keyboard, you were probably actually going to give them a bit of a run for their money. But if you were playing with the controller, I think the PC players would have annihilated you every single time. This was also available on PS2. I don't really remember the graphics being much better, to be honest. I think because of the complexity of PlayStation 2 development, at times it was Dreamcast games would come out actually looking better, despite the console being cheaper and at least theoretically less powerful. But this is one of my favourite Dreamcast games because, like I said, once you get used to the controls, it actually is fairly alright to play. And I just thought at the time when this came out, that was incredible. That I was playing games like this. Even my friends who had PCs were like, I can't believe your performance on this, because some of them were playing, for example, these games in like a software type mode, which was really not great. And they saw it on the Dreamcast and they thought, this is brilliant. Right, let's kill him. And then we'll move on to our next game, which is a racing game this time, and has some really classic 90s sort of Richard Jacks Sega tunes on it. Maybe you'll be able to guess what it is from that. But let's go ahead and put that on. I'm pretty sure I can stand here and he won't even kill me because I got it on such an easy mode. But that's been Quake 3 Arena. So here we go, it's Metropolis Street Racer on the Sega Dreamcast. Now, it'll probably tell me I haven't got enough room to make this, so we'll call myself Q1, and my nickname will be FG, just whatever sort of comes up first as I select around, 0Z. Yeah, see, this is a bit of an issue with the VMUs, is that they didn't really have a ton of storage on them. So in this game you earn kudos. That's how you win a lot of races. You need to actually do well, not crashing into things and just using the barriers to skirt round. You need to do well and race well and do things like power slides and whatnot in order to actually progress. Now, you might be thinking, kudos, what's that from? That seems familiar. Well, that's from the Project Gotham Racing series as well. They used the same system because it's from the same developer until Microsoft shut them down, because that's what Microsoft does. But that's a story for a different day. Awful company in many, many ways. But we're talking about the Dreamcast today, and that was not an awful system.
Iceberg.
So here we go.
Sliced Spanish
Let's have
tomatoes. And shredded red cabbage. Nestling warm pita bread. Is this part of your healthy summer lunching routine? Or the bit of the kebab you leave on the pavement? Diet Tango. You need it because you're weak. Diet Tango does not allow you to eat willy-nilly.
Okay, you recommend
I've got to admit, I like those adverts. I do love Tango, but not Diet Tango.
This is
Give me the sugar and I just won't have it very often. See, I need to get a better time. Here's an example of some of that brilliant music in this game. Also, their recreations of San Francisco, London and Tokyo, pretty incredible. Obviously I live in the UK, and their reconstructions of of London are pretty amazing. And as you'll see some of my other videos, we have been to Tokyo, and it's pretty accurate to some of those areas as well. Although there's a lot more traffic in Tokyo and London than there is in this game. So if you were going to do street racing, I think you might struggle to get above 10 miles an hour. Oh, I get to select my car's options. So you see you've got all these different things. You can have daytime, soft top, hard top. You can do your registration on there, which is pretty cool. And it's got different modes, time attacks, quick races. You could do little bits on the internet, but I don't think you could race directly. But you know, for the first game in this sort of series, I think it was pretty incredible, really. Let's just open up Time Attack and see if I can show you another city. Let's go to Shinjuku. We've been there. That was pretty cool. Let's see if I recognise anything from this this section here. So the loading is perhaps a little bit long. Right, here we go. Yep, I do recognise it. I mean, that building in front in particular really stands out. Although I don't remember seeing a Sega building.
3,
Oh, and I've never had that happen before. Where the music has just stopped. That has never happened before, gotta be honest. Let's see if perhaps this fixes it. There we go, fixed.
あるんですよ。アドレスは www.
Ah, that's pretty cool hearing Japanese again.
ぜひお試しください。全てのプログラムの
I've seen definitely, yeah, this is really bringing it all back. It's incredible. But I mean, this was obviously Shinjuku 20 odd years ago. Some things are different, but it's amazing how accurate they got it. So if you do things like skip around the corners, oh, you can get kudos, but you need to sort of nail it. So how would the Dreamcast have done against things like the PS2 had it continued running? Well, I think in a lot of games the Dreamcast could have offered perhaps a lesser version but still done alright. The real trouble would have come when you were comparing it to something like the original Xbox. Games like Morrowind, Halo 2, for example, especially. Those games, the graphics were so incredible and so far in advance of the other consoles. I think the Dreamcast would have struggled, especially against that. And Sega would have probably had to pull out at some point anyway. But I honestly think, were it not for the hype for PlayStation 2, Dreamcast could have done a lot better. For example, when I got my PlayStation 2 first, I was really kind of disappointed. Time Splitters was nothing more than just a bit of an arena shooter, really. It was good graphics and it ran well and stuff, but I remember playing it and thinking, I had better games on my Dreamcast. And SSX was pretty good, but was quite choppy in performance and whatnot. There was that one where you did fireworks and that. But I just remember thinking, this isn't that great. And it was great to be able to play DVDs, that was cool. But I thought, I got rid of my Dreamcast for this. Obviously, in the end, the PlayStation 2 was an incredible system. But I think the Dreamcast sort of fell out before its time, really. So that's been Metropolis Street Racer on the Sega Dreamcast, one of my top 10 favourite games. Graphically, gameplay, in terms of music, I absolutely love it. Perhaps the music is a bit corny, but I don't care. I love it. So the next game is Headhunter. Let's go ahead and get into... Oh, I thought I had a save game on this memory card. Wait 1 second, please, while I change over my memory cards, because I thought I had a save game. It turns out I do have a save game. So why is this game in my top 10? Well, to begin with, I love the satirical advertising, which kind of reminds me of things like RoboCop and Judge Dredd. And I really enjoy that. RoboCop's my favourite film ever.
Your ID.
So you've got these little cutscene bits, but I'll skip.
Hi, Jack. How's it feel?
I mean, this was incredible back in the time to think you could take phone calls on your watch. Of course, today it's nothing really, is it? Here we go. So, graphically, this game is pretty awesome, I would say. It holds up fairly well today, I reckon, to be honest. You can read the writing on the walls and the funny adverts. Spend your last days in luxury. Donate organs on location. I mean, I really enjoy that kind of thing. I think it's silly in that and fun, and I really like it.
Did a memory test.
Oh, she's just absolutely done me there. So you have to do these VR missions in order to kind of qualify to go back out into the world. These bits I wasn't massively keen on, if I'm being honest. It can be quite frustrating, let's say that. I'll show you a little bit of one of these. So it looks like I've passed all of the C ones, but it wants me to do B. No, that just means it's okay for me to take them. Okay, so I'll show you one of these. I'll show you why it can be slightly frustrating, because, for example, the rules to finish some of these are really rigid and kind of annoying at times. But that was kind of the design of games back then. So this kind of shows you a bit of the driving sections anyway. Thing is, the controls can be kind of difficult on the bike, especially like when you have to brake like that. It brakes slowly, but then suddenly comes to a complete stop. And you will keep wheel spinning, wheeling the bike, which makes it's impossible to turn again. But it's not bad. It's not bad. There we go. So I cleared it. So that's not terrible. So is the next one another? No, see, these are the frustrating ones, in all honesty. I'll just show you one of these to show you that you have to do it without being caught. If you get caught even once, it's a mission fail. Again, another little advertisement there, quite satirical, quite enjoy that. So there's enemies there, and so the enemy walks along, and of course, the thing is you can't really move the camera, so you're just kind of relying on the camera to move, and of course you don't know exactly when he's going to turn around. So it's best, I think, to hide myself in here. There's a button to lean against the wall. There you go. So you press that, and again you can't see. You can see on your little monitor there that he's coming past you, but otherwise it can be quite tough to see. But it doesn't mean it's a bad game. It just means it was designed during a time where this was kind of the standard. So he walks across now, and I can hopefully just come behind him, and then come behind the other one as well, and then come to this bit of a wall. So he's going to turn around. Got to wait until he turns the other way again. Somehow the guy walking across doesn't see me here, which is kind of funny. So I've got to be careful against this wall. He'll turn around. Round we go into here. Now, if I'd been caught even once, that would have been an instant fail. So I believe I have to do all of these, but I won't subject you to that. I'll do the next couple and then show you the outside world and how cool that was. So if I click on that, I should say... See, I feel like I've done these. Again, you can hear that really noisy Sega Dreamcast disc sort of loading in there. Yes, so get my guns, Euro Stunner, and some decoy shells to throw at people. Or to throw and make them think something's going on. Don't know why I can't just throw little pebbles, but there you go. And you've got these news sections that come in between, which I think are very cool. It really does remind me of like RoboCop.
Victory in the battle against organ smugglers. In one of their biggest operations to date, ACN officers armed with sniffer dogs today seized organs with a street value of $30 million in a raid on the city's dock. The black market in so-called backdoor organs is estimated to cost up to $200 million a year in lost business, as well as causing shortages for law-abiding citizens. ACN's Supremo, Alan Sharp, described the raid as a boost to public health, promising the organs to be distributed free to seniors and single mothers. Meanwhile, border police struck a blow against the market in
I really enjoy these little bits. They're so funny. So I should get to go outside now and hopefully show you a little bit of going around on my motorcycle, getting ready to go and take on some bad guys. So the shooting in this is quite an annoying thing, but once you get used to it again, it is okay. To think this is before GTA 3 and you had this open world to go around in. Perhaps it's a little bit sparse looking maybe, but but I think graphically and performance wise this plays pretty decently. Oftentimes GTA 3 would really struggle with performance, but this runs at a pretty solid 30 FPS. Yes, the draw distance can be a little bit lacking at times, but overall this plays pretty well. Although him constantly wheeling like that makes it really quite difficult to control. I really do wish he wouldn't do that, but there you go. Now this did come out on the PS2 as well. I can't remember it being much better than this. And I really enjoy the music. That again has like a RoboCop Judge Dredd type of feel to it. So here's an area I need to get to. So you come up to it on your bike, pull up, and when you press dismount then it then puts you into that area. So you can't walk around freely, but you can ride around freely, and then you can go into these areas here to do your fights and whatnot. I'm pretty sure you just have to kill everyone in this bit. So I hope so far this has given you an idea of why I enjoyed this game so much. So a lot of the times the best thing you can do if you're going to get into a fight is to simply roll out of the way, because otherwise you will get killed, basically.
Guess it's first up, the gas station.
kind of strange controls, and now it's going to be difficult for me to see this guy. So you lock on, I think. Oh, there you go. But unfortunately, the controls is one of the ways in which this game is kind of let down. I'm not sure what he thinks protection-wise is happening there. What's this thing? Can I shoot the padlock? Doesn't seem like it. So I think I need to go to the other location first in order to be able to get through here. But the graphics are nice and bright, the frame rate's solid and that. I think honestly, graphically this is one of the best Sega Dreamcast games there is. And the music's great. The only bit is the gunplay can be a little bit finicky. But as long as you roll around a lot, you shouldn't get hit too much. Although there's a couple of bosses that are really, really difficult. Let's have a little go on the mobile right now. So I hope this has shown you just how good of a game this really is. And if you can play it, I'll definitely consider giving it a go if you can. Probably the easiest option now would be to get it on PlayStation 2. Although I do prefer playing it on the original Dreamcast. But you're likely to find it cheaper on PlayStation 2. That's the other thing. So there you go. That's been Headhunter on the Sega Dreamcast. One of my top 10 favourite games. The next game, I'm sure you're thinking, when is this going to come out? It is an open world game. It is set in Japan, and it has a little bit of corny voice acting, but it was quite a huge deal at the time. So I'll let you try and guess what that is. I'm sure you've already figured it out. So this should go without any level of surprise, really. My next favourite game is Shenmue. Let's go ahead and get into my save game. Beautiful music, wonderful graphics. Perhaps parts of the gameplay haven't held up so well these days, but in all honesty, this is one of my favourite games of all time, let alone on the Dreamcast. I also, if you want to check out my video where we went to Japan and little things to do in Japan, we went to Dobutora Street in Yokosuka, and it's you can do the whole tour, and they even give you a special pamphlet to do with places to go from this game, which I thought was just incredible. So everything in this game basically can be interacted with, more or less. Now the controls are maybe a little bit tanky perhaps, but for example, look, I can open this up and I can see traditional sort of shoes that you would wear and more non-traditional shoes. And every drawer basically in this house can be opened. Light switches can be turned on and off. Now, perhaps you might sit there and think, well, who would even want to do that? But that's not the point. The point was, at the time, that was an incredible attention to detail that just wasn't available on other systems, really. And I'll give you a little walk through Dobutora, because this is an area you'll be spending a lot of time sort of coming through and that. And I did go down these streets in Japan, and it was an incredibly surreal feeling, really, to look at some of the flats and stuff, and the jacket shop, which I did buy a jacket in there, a black jacket. It's similar to Rio's, but it's black and a little bit longer. And I went in and bought that, and they've got the vending machines everywhere. And I even saw a couple of the old school mopeds go past, and I just thought, what an incredible feeling. I'm so lucky to have been able to work hard on that and have a wife who's so brilliant as to come with me to Japan and to go to Dobutora. But that's a whole separate thing. what's incredible about this game is, like I said, graphically wonderful, the music is beautiful, the voice acting is funny, but still, you know, serviceable, it's passable. Perhaps you think the gameplay's boring. I don't. I think it's really
hi.
fun.
What can I get for you? Have you heard of a warehouse number 8? A warehouse? Nope. I have no idea. I see.
Oftentimes I'll say to my wife, what should we have for dinner? She'll say, oh, let's do like teriyaki chicken. And then I say, I see. Just a bit of silliness, really. This shop is actually here. Certain bits are a little bit different, because this was set in the 80s, but that shop is actually there. The tomato shop, sadly though, that isn't real. That doesn't exist in the game. But I love the music in this place, and on my original playthrough of this game, I worked really hard to get money so that I could buy all the stuff in here, all the music and that, and actually get myself a Sega Saturn for my room. Because I can't remember. I think you can look here and see what the prizes are. Yeah, and I remember getting a Sega Saturn. And like I said, you can basically look at everything. All the different food stuff, the magazines. Huso Bosso, that famous magazine. But it was just brilliant being able to look at all this stuff and be like, oh, let's pick up another cassette for my cassette player, because
Hey man.
you would actually have to wait for the time to go by in the game, which now might sound boring, but like at the time it was just incredible, really, that you'd sort of go in the arcades and that, or you'd listen to the music. Right, let's count down. 1, 2, 3, ticket. What do I get?
No prize.
Ah, no prize.
Bummer. Better luck next time.
Thanks, buddy. So this game really laid the framework for a lot of things. Some things people don't like now, for example, quick timer events. And the second game went a bit heavy on quick timer events. But to be honest, this game did so much stuff that was just incredible. The recreation of the location itself, unbelievable really, how well they did. And like I said, I've been here, and a lot of this stuff really is here. I can hear mopeds waiting to come past me. Unfortunately, you can't actually go to the warehouse district in real life, because it's actually part of a US military base. And we did try and go there, and the chap stopped us and said, ID please. And I said, why? And he said, well, this is a military base. Are you US military? And I said, I'm really sorry. Google Maps told me to come this way. Can I not come here? And he said, no, you can't. He said he's had other people try and go down there because of Google Maps and whatnot, and because they want to get to the warehouse district. So he was pretty chill, and he was a Japanese chap. He obviously works for the US military. Yeah, he was pretty chill, but it was sad not to be able to get there. But there you go, you can take a little cruise that will show you that area anyway. But just being able to walk down here was pretty incredible. And you've got this arcade in the game. This isn't there in real life. There was an arcade apparently, but that's quite long gone now, so there you go. That's progress, isn't it? Things change, and can't expect a whole town to stay the same just because I like it in the game. That would be pretty crazy. But you can play some of these classic Sega games like
Space Harrier. 100 yen a game.
100 yen a game, which is 100 yen is hardly anything. It's very, very cheap. Let's have a go.
Guess I'll try it.
So this game, essentially, your father is murdered, and you're trying to track down who's done that. And it's fairly slow paced, but it is an incredibly good experience. I always say, you don't play Shenmue, you experience it. And I stand by that even today. I mean, you play these games in here, and you play the quick timer events and whatnot, and you think, oh, I need to just pass some time. which these days, to be honest, as an adult working 50 hours a week, I'd be going, no, I don't want to just sit and wait. I'd rather just skip the time. But as a kid who had all the time in the world, this was just incredible. Really, really, honestly amazing.
Get ready.
I also still listen to the music from this game as well, and I've got the music from Outrun on CD that I bought in Japan. I was also hoping to get the music from Daytona USA 1, but no, they only had Daytona USA 2 music, and I really wanted it from the original game. But it's still pretty cool to have all the music from Outrun on CD. Even though I know it's all available on YouTube and Spotify and whatnot, but to have it on CD is just, for me, pretty cool. I've also done a video all about the differences of having things physically and having things digitally. The things I love most, for example, music from my computer games and that, I'd rather have physically. But everything else, I'm quite happy to have digitally. So that's been Shenmue. Now, the next game is very, very similar, but much, much bigger. So perhaps you'll guess which game that is. Who knows? That's coming up soon.
Get ready.
So if you guessed my next pick for my top 10 favourite Sega Dreamcast games would be Shenmue 2, then you guessed absolutely correct. Again, beautiful graphics, beautiful music, great gameplay, an incredible story, slightly corny voice acting, but on a much bigger scale. Incredible really that the Dreamcast can actually do this. Again, considering you're talking a 200 megahertz CPU. I mean, 200 megahertz is sort of, it's nothing really. These days, if you put a 200 megahertz overclock on a CPU, on a modern computer, you wouldn't even notice anything. You wouldn't notice any difference. And yet the whole Dreamcast CPU runs at that speed. It's just incredible what you can get out of a system when you really optimise for it. I mean, things like this, the draw distance. Yes, that is 2D in the background. As it was back in the time, because DSX originally had a 2D background on it. Although someone is currently remaking that in UE5, which I am really, really looking forward to. I'm hoping he'll be releasing it sometime soon this year. He's basically porting all of the assets from UE1 all the way to UE5, so you've got more realistic textures and lighting and whatnot. Really excited to see that. And I'll probably do a video on that as well, because DSX is again one of my top favourite games of all time. Well, go on then. I fancy a bit of good luck. Now, we haven't been to China yet, but this was set in the 80s and Hong Kong is vastly different. I would like to go one day, but I kind of feel like they need to really address some of their socio-political and economic issues in China before I'd go as a foreigner, but one day. So again, off in the distance there, that is 2D, but the water is all 3D if it doesn't zoom in on this random person's head. But you do get to go there, so we'll leave this initial area. A top tip I can give you, if you're deciding to play this game for the first time, you get your bag stolen.
ようこそ香港へ面白いとこ案内しようか。坊や一人かい。泊まるとこ世話するよ。観光なら任してよ。安くしとくからさ。Hey, 炭酸ボーイ、写真撮ってあげるよ。
今写真を撮られたでしょ。あれ後で売りに来るわよ。しつこく言ってくるけど無理に買うことはないから。
はい。
気をつけてね。香港には悪い人も大勢いるから。
わかりました。
So you might be noticing that they are speaking Japanese. That's because this game came out towards the end of the Dreamcast's life, and it was thought they just needed to get it out quick, because otherwise it wouldn't have come out at all. If you want to play it in English, there's the original Xbox version, or there's the HD remasters. Probably the best way to play it now is the HD remasters. It gives you quality of life improvements and whatnot. My top tip for this area, though, if you're starting this game up, is spend all of your money, because you get robbed and then you lose all your money anyway. So best bet is get over to these capsules and spend all your money. But we'll come out of here and we'll go and have a little look around. I love the music in this game as well. For some reason, even in this one, when you open up your diary, my god, does that GD-ROM go crazy. You can probably hear it. But if you look at the draw distance in this area, pretty crazy, I would say. It's definitely an improvement on the first game. And yes, there's some shimmering and whatnot on the textures. It's probably the way they're done with the anisotropic filtering, perhaps over sharpened, but you can still see a good amount of detail even from this distance, which I think is pretty incredible. Now, one thing this game does a little bit too much, I would say, is it really ramps up the quick time events. So they can be pretty annoying. There's a section where you have to walk across these wooden boards. I know China's not known as being the land of sort of health and safety, but huge 20-foot long wooden boards that you have to walk across seems even unrealistic for 1980s Hong Kong. But it's constant quick timer events, and if you fail one of them you have to start over, and that is exceptionally irritating. So my advice for that would be look up a guide online and it will tell you exactly which button to press next, and you can get through those sections. The same with fighting Duo Nuo at the end. There's quick timer sections where if you fail them, he throws you off the roof and you have to start the whole fight over again. Very annoying, and that hasn't been resolved in the HD remasters. No, I won't challenge him today.
Yeah, やめとけよ。そうかい。また気が向いたら来いや。
And you don't get to drive a forklift in this one, which you do in the first one, but you do have a job, which is quite funny really. You're moving these boxes by hand with another chap, and he'll keep shouting, go left, right, left, back, forward, and it's quite funny. It's not too difficult, and it does earn you some money at the go. So you see the frame rate chugs a little bit there when it comes to the alpha effects.
ちゃんと前を見て走ってるのか。
あんた日本人だ。気をつけな。
But you can see the facial models and stuff of people have improved since the first game. And the sense of space and whatnot has also improved.
そうか。
あんた名前は？
りょう。
りょう。あたいはジョイ。まあ、ぜいぜいひったくりに気をつけな。
Not very eco-friendly, wasting all that petrol and that, but hey, this was the 80s. Didn't have to worry too much about that back then, did we? So like I said, the backgrounds there in the distance are 2D, but as you zoom in, you can see they're sort of 2D, mixed with a couple of 3D elements in there to give it some depth. But from a distance, it really does look pretty incredible. Kind of almost looks like the Kowloon walled city, but I don't think it is. You can see this section here, the frame rate slows down, and strangely it's actually tied to the speed of the game. But as you move forwards, it's only this section here where it runs quite slowly. Weirdly, once you get here, it's fine. So I don't know what it is about this marketplace bit perhaps all of this in here, perhaps whatever these textures are in here, of all the watch straps, are maybe what slows it down. Can't really say, but yeah, that's a bit of a random one for you. But I think, in all honesty, this game really expands massively on the first game, and everything is better, except too many quick time events, but otherwise everything is improved. Really incredible game. So, if you've watched right up to this point, I'd like to say thank you very, very much, and that's been my top 10 Sega Dreamcast games. I've got a couple of honourable mentions. Jet Set Radio, obviously, really good. Quite frustrating at times, but really quite pioneering in many ways. I really enjoyed Millennium Soldier. Just a bit of a silly run around shooty kind of game, but pretty cool design. And Choo Choo Rocket was also really good. Sega Rally 2 was good fun, but graphically not quite where I think it should have been. Sega GT, kind of the precursor to like Forza, games like that. Those are some of my honourable mentions anyway, but you can't include every single game. This video is already pretty long. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you give me a like, leave me a comment, tell me what your favourite Dreamcast games are, tell me if I got anything wrong, and also subscribe to my channel. Share this video on your socials, it really does help a lot, and consider checking out my Patreon if you want. And I'd just like to say thank you again very much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.